Blessed be everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're talking about shadow work, and I wanted to share with you my experiences of doing shadow work and how important I feel shadow work really is to our overall happiness and us being able to feel good about ourselves. And it also helps us connect more to nature, spirit and magic at the same time. But before I dive into the topic, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sandra from MysteryWitchSchool.com, author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path, and I help witches and Wiccans, pagans who are confused by all of the information out there, feeling overwhelmed, how to start a connected practice, connecting to nature, spirit and magic. I do that through my courses, and I also do that through my one-to-one mentoring. And I have a free video if you want to find out where to start your witchcraft practice. That's about maybe a half-hour video that just gives you a rundown on where to start and what to do, and the link to that is in the description field below this video. Inner inquiry work, or shadow work as it's commonly called, is one of my favorite topics. And when I talk about shadow work, I'm really talking about it in a general sense of inner inquiry. This isn't about getting into the deeper, real, serious traumas that you would need to work with a psychotherapist, or getting into mental health conditions where you should be working with a qualified therapist. This is something that for people who are wanting to feel more confident, to feel more assertive, to be able to feel happier in your life, to reach your potential, and to be able to release and remove the things that are actually blocking you. And for everybody, and it's mainly a case of how we've been brought up to view ourselves and the world around us and our conditioning. So today I wanted to talk about what I see as the 5 benefits of doing shadow work in my experience of having done shadow work. Now, shadow work can be very difficult to do on your own, especially if you're just starting out doing it. So working with another person, or at least having a support there of a friend who may be interested in doing it as well, is really, really important. I've had times where I have had to go and work with a hypnotherapist or an EFT practitioner, even counsellors. And I've also worked with friends who've also been exploring it at the same time. And that support is really, really helpful. So don't overlook that, especially when you're first starting out. So the first thing that I experienced when it came to that shadow work was that shadow work is more than just trying to deal with those parts of yourself that are deemed to be bad or wrong in some way. Shadow work is really about exploring who you are and awakening to who you truly are. It's you connecting with you, and it's about releasing the blocks, the negative programming that's actually stopping you from having that experience of who you are and being able to reach your potential and confidently express yourself in the world. It awakens you to the truth, and the truth is that you've been lied to. We've all been lied to. For a very long time, generations upon generations upon generations, lied to about spirituality, lied to about who and what we are. And a lot of these lies that we've grown up with are telling us that we're bad people, that we're flawed, that we're broken, and that we are evil, that we are sinners, and that we just have to, suffer it out and just put up with all of the bad crap because we're here, because we're bad, and we have to escape the planet because it's a bad place to be. So it's waking up to those lies and understanding that we have to find our own truth, and the way to find our truth is actually to go into ourselves and discover who we truly are and understand who we truly are. So the second thing is the gifts in the shadow. These gifts are the positive aspects of the shadow. So when we're working with shadow work, I work a lot with the chakras. And in the sacral chakra, we're dealing with our desires, we're dealing with our wants, we're dealing with our impulses, we're dealing with the desire to seek pleasure and the things that help us create in life. And a lot of these qualities that we want to express are often denied us to express, especially when we're children. And oftentimes, of course, children do have to have parameters because you don't want them harming themselves. But the way in which we get the messages sometimes is construed by the child as meaning that our desires and our needs and wants are bad, and that it makes us a bad person for wanting things. So these things then get put into the shadow, and they come out in very negative ways when they're in the shadow. So the need for self-care, for example, may manifest as selfishness. The need for being able to speak up and defend yourself may be construed as being arrogant. You may have issues with anger, because anger is about courage, so maybe you weren't allowed to, maybe you were shamed if you were showed courage for speaking up or something as a child. So these experiences of having our needs and our desires not so much that they needed to be met, because sometimes they can't be met, or they're not practical to be met, or they're dangerous to be met at the time. But the way that they were taken and the way that they were mirrored back to you when you were growing up is going to give you the feeling that these things are wrong and that you shouldn't have them. And so the shadow work is all about understanding what the gifts are in selfishness, for example. Acting selfishly may just simply be the cry of your soul to take care of yourself, to be able to say no to something or yes to something. Arrogance is just you wanting to actually confidently express yourself. So when it's done in a positive way, it's confidence. When it comes to anger and rage, you're dealing with courage. Okay, the courage to take action, the courage to speak up for yourself. So the shadow work is really about that inner work of just unraveling all of these beliefs that you're not good enough, you're not worthy, and that your needs and your desires and the impulses and the things that you want to do with your life, your creative pursuits, they actually are worthy. But deep down inside, we believe that they're not because of the lies that we were told in our upbringing. So that was another thing that I've learned about shadow work. There's so many gifts in shadow work that it actually will help you become more assertive. It gives you more courage and more confidence in yourself. The next thing is that you know that you're not alone, because when you do shadow work and you start to see these things within yourself and you're working with seeing these things mirrored in other people, you realize that every one of us has this battle going on inside them. You could come from a very functional family and maybe not have as many things going on as you do if you've come from a dysfunctional family or where you've had a lot of trauma and abuse. But there's still going to be things, because there's lies in the culture, there's lies in the religion about who and what we should be. And so there's always work to do, no matter how functional your family history may be. Also dealing with the culture and dealing with all other aspects that go into making a culture. So you learn you're not alone, that you're not flawed, that you're not a bad person, that you're not evil, that you're not broken. You're just simply human, and you've been subject to the same lies that everybody else has been subject to. So it's just a matter of changing the program, because our brain is like a computer. It is like a computer program, and we can reprogram it. We can change it. And that's what the inner inquiry work and the shadow work is all about. The fourth thing is it teaches you to trust yourself. You have more confidence in your own perceptions. Your perceptions of the world will change when you do shadow work. How you perceive the world now is not how you're going to perceive the world 10 years from now if you keep up the inner work. It's going to change everything. And this is why it's so important to do the work in the lower chakras, to do the work on the root chakra, which is about self-worth and support and the foundation. Doing the work of the sacral chakra, which is about your needs and your wants, your desires and your impulses. Doing the work of the third chakra, which is being able to stand in your power and take leadership over your life. And of course the heart chakra is then being able to share all of that with others. And by the time you work up to your throat chakra, you're able to speak your truth. And the vision that you have your intuition, your connection to spirit will actually change, because all of this is being influenced by what's going on down in the lower chakras, which is all the shadow stuff. So what it helps you realize is that you don't necessarily have to believe everything that you're told about spirituality, because when you work on your shadow, you'll start to actually engage and connect with spirit in a much more authentic way for you, and you'll start to understand things from your own experience. And that's really where the gnosis comes from, your own connection to spirit and your own experience of that connection. And the shadow work helps you with that as well. The self-trust also helps eliminate, not completely eradicate, because there is always danger. It's a reality of being in this material world. But it will definitely lessen your fear of other people. One of the biggest fears that we have is the fear of people, because as a social species, particularly when we are children, we need to belong to the tribe in order to survive. And so the fear of being judged and criticized and ostracized and being cast out from the crowd is a terror worse than death to a human being, simply because our experiences of childhood, we need other people to survive, and most of us still need other people to survive in the world in which we live in. So understanding that the fear of others is a big controlling factor over ourselves. And we use things like shame to control other people. We've had shame used to control ourselves. It is a mechanism to make somebody self-regulate themselves. And it's associated with the need to bond and the need to belong. But when you've done the shadow work and you start to see these things happening, you start to see it within yourself and you start to see it then with other people, you're able to, that fear of being shamed, for example, isn't as strong. And so if somebody does try to judge you or shame you in order to manipulate you in some way, you're much more resilient to that. You're not going to take it on and beat yourself up or stop yourself from expressing something or doing something because of that. If you really have a strong belief in something and you want to stand firm in your foundation and somebody's shaming you to do something else, when you've done the shadow work, you're much less likely to give in to that social pressure. You're more likely to go, well, if this means that I've got to stand by myself, then that's what it means. And you feel more confident. There may still be a bit of fear and anxiety there, but that solid confidence is there, and that's really, really one of the biggest gems, I think, of shadow work. Shadow work, the fifth thing is that shadow work is ongoing. So it's something that you will be always doing. It doesn't mean you have to do it every day. You're going to have patches of doing it and patches where you're not doing it. So you may go for weeks and weeks, months even, and not do anything, because maybe life's treating you pretty well, so you kind of don't feel the need to when life's treating you pretty well. But then life happens, stuff happens, and then it throws you into negative feelings usually. It's uncomfortable feelings. And then it's like, oh, I better do some shadow work because there's stuff coming up. Or maybe you're experiencing things going on with your health. Maybe you're experiencing bouts of insomnia or bouts of free-floating anxiety, and you're not quite sure what it's relating to, because it kind of doesn't seem to be relating to specific situations. Then that's time to do some shadow work, because that means that there's stuff under the surface that's wanting to come up, and it may be stuff that is related to what's going on unconsciously. You're not consciously aware that stuff's happening, but it's creeping up on you. And so it's an opportunity to start doing your shadow work. When I have problems sleeping with insomnia, for example, I will know that there's some shadow work to do and go back to doing the shadow work if that starts happening. Because it's pretty easy for us to fool ourselves into thinking that everything's okay when it's not. We're used to it. We're used to self-medicating. We're used to self-soothing in order to not have to deal with the pain, to not have to deal with the beliefs that we're flawed, that we're evil, that we're bad, because a lot of the resistance to doing inner inquiry work or shadow work is that we have these beliefs when we do confront these things within ourselves. We believe then that we're bad and that we're evil, and we start to judge ourselves and criticize ourselves, and that's not the point of shadow work. It's not. The point of shadow work is to free yourself from the judgments and the criticisms. It's not to actually build it and make it worse. So there are 5 things: the awakening to the truth, discovering the gifts, knowing you're not alone, the self-trust and the confidence that comes with that, and the perception, the new perception of yourself and the world that comes with that. And of course, understanding that it's an ongoing process, but it's a process that you can flow with. You don't have to be rigidly doing it constantly. You can just do it as things come up. Okay, so it can be a seasonal thing for some people. You can tie it in with the Sabbats if you want to. Winter and Samhain and those more colder times of the year, from autumn onwards until, you know, Imbolc is a really good time to maybe think about doing some shadow work. And if you want to do some shadow work, particularly working with the chakras with me, I do offer a free clarity session where we just get together, have a chat, see what your needs are, what's going on, and then if we're a match and you want to work with me, we can move forward from there. If you want to book a free clarity session, my contact details are underneath this video in the description field. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. Blessed be.